So whether you call this a clamshell chair or a stamped steel chair or a mid-century retro chair, I think all of us powder coaters have probably seen one or two of these at least come into our shop. So this is an old one here that was brought to us by one of our customers, and it is more of a sentimental piece. And those are the ones that customers will tend to spend a little bit more money on and be able to justify having it redone because it means something to them, and that's totally understandable. So this one's in pretty good shape. I mean, it's not bad. It's got some pitting in the seat pan area I'm sure we'll have to address. There's a few pinholes on the armrests, and the gliders, the bottom of the gliders, have got some holes in them. We'll kind of have to see, you know, if we'll be able to just kind of spot in some weld in there, or if it's too far gone, you know, we may have to cut some of that out and actually splice in a new piece, which I've done several times before. Works pretty good for something like this. So anyway, we're gonna take this thing all the way apart like I do with almost all my restorations, and we're gonna coat all the pieces separately. It's gonna be a two-tone color, which is gonna be really cool on this. It's really gonna look sharp when we're done. We replace all of the hardware on these chairs when we do them with new stainless steel hardware. Most of this stuff is so rusted, you're gonna have a terrible time getting it out. And you know, most of the time we're gonna cut it off of there if we can't get it loosened up, so you're gonna destroy the hardware anyway. So might as well replace it with something good, something's gonna last. So let's see what it's gonna take to get this thing apart, and we'll take it from there. Square nuts and straight slot screws, my favorite. Clean out the chunks of paint so we can at least get a decent grip on here to try and break it free. All right. You didn't think I was gonna do that without heating it up, did you? Time for some of the good stuff. Valve grinding compound is your best friend. When I was working in aviation, we had a screw that was called a coin slot screw. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that. I'd be interested to hear if they use it in other things besides aviation, but those were the dumbest things. Tell you what. It's kind of a half moon screw. And, you know, I suppose it has something to do with aerodynamics or high torque or something. I don't know, but they were ridiculous. Just need to get it out a little bit more so that I could cut it off. It would be nice if it would just twist off too. Like that. Ta-da! Problem solved. I think there's kind of a point in every project that you come to that you just skip the niceties, trying to do it one way. Just go straight for the cutoff tool. So we've got the seat and the back now separated from the frame, and the seat and the back just go together with these little tabs here, which is kind of a nifty little thing. So that just tabs just slide in there, and then that holds that whole thing onto there. So So now let's get this last bar apart on the frame here. Now that all of that's apart, I'm gonna make a quick little mark on here. And in there, so then I know exactly where those need to go when I go back together with it. Here comes the never-ending waterfall of rust. So we're working with quite a bit of pitting here in this area, so I'm gonna run some of Tiger Drylax Epo Strong. It is a 2-part epoxy filler that is specific to powder coating. So it works really well for things like this. You can't layer it up a whole lot, but it's a 2-to-1 ratio mix. And you just gotta make sure you get it mixed up really good. I like to warm my piece up. Just helps that, it helps the filler to flow out a little bit. This is really thin metal, so it ain't gonna take much to get it to warm up enough. I'll probably have to hit it a couple times with the heat gun to keep it warm while we're doing it. When I start with this, I like to just lay it, when I'm working with pitting at least, I like to work in just kind of a skim coat to start off with. And then I can kind of see that I'm making sure that I don't have any voids in it and there aren't any bubbles that are gonna come popping up out of there. So I'll put kind of a skim coat on here and then come back and just layer it up a little bit on top of that. And I'm not gonna worry about, those are some holes that somebody at some point had drilled in the seat. You see that in a lot of these styles of chairs because they sit outside and they get water in them, and water sits in them. This is cooled down, so we're gonna hit this again with the heat gun. And a good temperature is about that much. So there's still a little bit of pitting up in this area here, but I think I'm just gonna save that for the primer. We'll be able to fill that in with primer and sand that down. That should come out fairly smooth. I don't know if we'll get all of this to come out of here. Sometimes it'll shrink back a little bit as you add layers of powder on there, but it will definitely make a difference. Over here at the welding table, I've started working on the frame a little bit. This back piece just had a couple little pinholes in it here. I was able to just spot in some weld there and then grind that down. And the same with this bottom leg here. It wasn't too bad, so we're able to just fill in some of that corrosion with the welder. However, this one here is another story. I think we're going to end up splicing in a piece of tubing in there, just on that bottom side. And I've done this a few times before. It works pretty well, so I'll show you how that works. Got a piece of steel tubing here that we're just going to open up and use to repair this section. It's a little bit smaller diameter than this, but we'll open it up and it should be fine. Open that up there, got that to about the same diameter as this tube. We're working with a little bit of a compound curve, but it's thin enough material. I think we're just going to push it into place and call it good. Fitting really nice around that tube. So now let's get that tacked on with the welder. Now the theory to cutting this is to not necessarily cut it straight down here so that the patch falls in, but rather it is to angle the cutting disc in. So you're basically cutting a bevel on this piece. And by cutting a bevel, then that allows for this piece to fall in and rest on that. That's the theory. Now, of course, you need a thin cutoff disc, as thin as you can get. The weld will obviously take up quite a bit of that space, and it's usually not a problem, but we're working with really thin materials here, so we just have to be careful as we go. All right, let's get to it. So now we've got our piece out of here. We'll just have to take that bad piece there and break it free from these welds, and then we'll have the perfect size patch. All right, so now that we have this opened up, you can kind of see how cutting this works. So by cutting this at an angle, cutting this at an angle like this, instead of just going straight into the tube, like straight down, I cut it at an angle up like this. Well, that left me a nice little flat shelf for this piece to lay on. And even though I didn't even cut this piece very straight, you can see it's pretty crooked along there, it still fits in there because I just traced it. So this piece will sit right in there and it fits flush all the way around. So now we just need to get this tacked in and smooth back out again. So I know that I'm getting dangerously low on gas here, but we'll see how far we can make it. All right, I think we're there. We're gonna stop there. The temptation is to keep grinding, but it's fairly thin material and we don't want to get it too thin. I think the last thing to do now with these frames is to get these little bird mouths closed up. I opened them up in the vise earlier so that I could get some of the nastiness that was inside of here out. There were some big chunks that were not coming out of the holes. Plus I wanted to clean up around here. There was just a lot of paint that had gone and seeped down inside of there. So I knew as soon as I heated that up in the oven that was gonna come probably bubbling out of there and make a mess. So just by opening those up, I was able to blast through here, get these edges all cleaned up, and then I wouldn't have any residual paint sitting in between that seam when I went to powder coat. All right, so we just closed these up with a bench vise, quick and easy. So I'm gonna clean this up a little bit around here, and then we will clamp that together and then just tack that around there and seal that. That'll give us a nice looking end right there. Overkill? Yeah, probably a little. All right, we're back to our seat pan here. Got this EPO Strong cured out, and we're gonna go ahead and sand in there. We've got some pretty deep pits in here. I think we're probably gonna end up having to do another coat of EPO on here. So after we sand, we'll probably put another layer of the EPO on there, see if we can't build this up a little bit more. Let's see what it looks like. All right, not too bad for the first round. I think some of those pits are still gonna be a little too deep to be able to fill with primer. So we'll hit it with another layer of the EPO, get that cured and sanded too. We're back. Another layer of EPO Strong, all cured out. Get this sanded down, and that should be enough. Even if we got a little bit of pitting left, the primer will end up filling that in. We should be good. Get the oven turned on, and we'll start getting some primer on these pieces. All right, here we go. Let's put a little primer on this and see how it does. All right, now that we have everything coated, it's time to get this reassembled. We're gonna start with the frame here. I've got stainless steel hardware to put everything back together with. I've kind of accumulated quite a stash of this stainless steel hardware doing some different outdoor furniture over the time. Every time I just needed something, I'd just order a little bit more and ended up with quite a stash here. So it's kind of nice and handy to have that so we can assemble that. So let's see about getting this frame back together. Like I said, we'll use some stainless hardware. I've got some lock washers here, some acorn nuts kind of to clean that up, make those look nice. So here we go. So if you'll remember, we put some marks on these pieces when we disassembled them to make sure we put them back in the same spot. So I'm just gonna find those marks here, and here is the other one right there. So we know that those two go together like that. So let's see what we can do to get that going. I'm not going to go too tight on those until we get the rest of this assembled, so we've got a little bit of wiggle room like this to be able to get everything lined up. All right, so let's grab the seat in the back. So the seat and the back are comprised of tabs and slots. So all this does, these just line up like this. If you can get them to stay, pull up the middle there, and then it just folds up. And that's it. Just that simple, really. So this might prove to be a little tricky to kind of hold this while I'm trying to put this into the frame. That's going to be about it for this video. Thank you guys for following along, and make sure you like and subscribe if you'd like to see more of these types of videos. Let me know, drop a comment down below, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.